Hello everyone, I am very happy to do this 10-year review of my 2015 Yamaha R3. I purchased her when she only had 70 miles on her back in 2014, and boy, I gotta tell you, it's been an amazing 10 years with her. This video is really for anybody curious about the Yamaha R3. You could already own one or be on the fence about owning one, but I'm gonna tell you about the reliability of the motorcycle, what to expect as far as maintenance costs, power, fun, things you can do with it, just like what it's been like to own this bike for 10 years. And then also, as far as I'm aware, Yamaha hasn't changed any of the mechanics on this bike in the last 10 years. All they've done is given it a facelift. So it really is a review in a sense for all Yamaha R3s and what you can expect from any of them that they've ever made. And if you're interested in the girl modeling, there's a little bit of surprise for y'all that like pretty women saying things in French at the very end of this video. So watch to the end. So even though I've dailied her, she's only got 25,000 miles on her. And that's mainly because I live pretty close to work. It's like 3 minutes away. And I've always split the miles with other vehicles. However, I've done plenty of road trips and lots of highway miles. And throughout all 25,000 of those miles, I'm very happy to say that she has never left me stranded. True to their nature, Yamaha has built an astounding motorcycle, something that I assume that they did when they introduced this motorcycle to the starter bike class 10 years ago. And I would be willing to bet that you can't find many bikes capable of doing that. Or even like cars in general. Now, typically, the first model year is going to be the least reliable of that entire generation. However, I can tell you from experience with this motorcycle that the Yamaha R3 is an exception to that. You can buy a 2015 and expect the same reliability that you can expect from any of the other years. So if you can get a deal on the older ones, it's a true deal. And it's not like I got a fluke or something. I know other people that got R3s. I read the other reviews about R3s and everything, and it seems like in general, they're all relatively extremely reliable every model year. Now, given the mileage that I'm putting on this bike, I always end up changing the oil in the filter before the mileage comes up. I end up doing it because it's been in there for about 10 months to a year. So between 10 months to a year is the intervals that I've been changing the oil on this bike, not the mileage. And I've always used full synthetic, either Mobil 1 or AMSOIL. Now, there's nothing wrong with the Mobil 1. If that's all you can afford, go for it. But I will say that she really likes that AMSOIL. There is a noticeable difference in performance and smoothness when you go with the AMSOIL over really any of the other oils. It's just really a matter of like, can you find it? And it's kind of expensive, but you should at least try it once. With that said, the oil changes are relatively simple. You do it all by hand. And for the oil filters, I've always used K&Ns. Although if Wix made one, I would probably go with that one instead. Other than the oil changes, all I've had to do for upkeep, seriously, is just change the spark plugs one time and the battery one time. And of course the tires, but that's it. Like, I've never had to do any sort of serious work to the engine. I've never had to take the heads off or even the valve covers. I've never even had to replace the clutch. Now, there are some things to take note of here. Perhaps mine is an exception because of the mods that I have done to it, or maybe I've shortened the life of it and we just don't know that yet because of the mods I've done to it. So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I've done. So starting from the front to the back, I have obviously changed all the body panels out, not because I've ever crashed this bike or anything, but just because I like this sick black look. I think it looks really sick with the stickers. Obviously the windscreen is a double bubble clear red. The tires themselves, I've switched them out for like a softer tread. I've gone as wide as I can in the back. And then in the rims, I've changed the bearings out for ceramic bearings, which makes it roll a lot smoother. And it's just, you end up getting, I guess, a little tiny bit more response and performance to the rear tire at least. A free mod that you can do is just flip your handlebars upside down. It's going to make the buttons a little bit trickier to reach. However, I'm used to it and you will too. That lets you have a more aggressive posture on the bike. Your hands are a little bit lower. Because I live in Texas and it's like blazing hot here, I have removed the thermostat, so the coolant's always flowing through it. Brakes are stock, except the brake lines are steel braided and the brake pads are a little bit more performance oriented. To the engine itself, all I've ever really done is add velocity stacks. I think they're made by TST, and an off-brand racing filter, which is not Canon, but it's also washable like a Canon. And then after doing those two mods and then adding a W-ring chain, which oh my gosh, it's like so much better than an O-ring chain. I got it dyno tuned, and power went up from 37 stock to 41 because of the exhaust that I have on it, which is like a longer unnecessary dual exit exhaust. I probably did sacrifice like 1 horsepower, because I've seen some of these bikes with shorties get 42 peak horsepower. However, I just wonder though, if because my pipes are longer, I end up making a little bit more power down low than they do with the shorties, since if I'm not mistaken, the thing that you give up with shorties is low in torque. I don't know. I don't actually have any proof of that though. I just like the look of dual exhaust, so I had to have it. You can still find these exhausts on eBay if I'm not mistaken. They're like $100 to $300 depending on what combination you want. And then you will have to do some welding work, and if you want a dyno tune, you're gonna have to add an O2 sensor into your header somewhere. For these headers that I have on it, it really is like headers straight into mufflers, since there's no catalytic converter. Obviously, I've also added like all the integrated blinkers and turn signals. I did the rear fender delete and the integrated rear tail blinker. And then the side blinkers that I have there are more flush, but not exactly flush. I didn't want them totally flush. And I did not skimp out on those. I got like the brightest possible blinkers I could get, because I actually want people to see me. If you do end up going with an exhaust like this, you're gonna have to come up with some custom way to mount your license plate to the bike somehow. There's not like a kit you can buy for it. I had to take it to a welder to kind of make some sort of contraction back there to bolt that license plate to the body of the bike between the exhaust. Now, I'm the kind of person that's very concerned about weight, so I did go ahead and replace the stock battery when it went out, which was a remarkable battery, by the way. It lasted a long time, much longer than the battery lasted in my Ninja 300, and I think it lasted like 5 years. And I replaced it with a lightweight battery to save about 4 pounds. I've done pretty much everything that I could do to this bike in order to save as much weight as possible, especially taking like all the emissions equipment out, the stock muffler, the catalytic converter, the charcoal canister, and all that. I did that block off plate too, where the charcoal canister did route itself onto the top of the engine. I got a video way back in my history doing that years ago. It's all still there. It was all worked perfectly fine. No problems from any of that stuff that I've done in the past. And here's what all that sounds like when put together on the highway. This is not a comparison video. All I can tell you though is if you go with the R3, it's going to be fun, and it's going to be reliable, and it's going to be cheap, and you can have all this and still get 45 to 55 miles per gallon on 87 octane on a bike that's really nimble. Now, I guess this doesn't quite make me an R3 expert, but I know a lot about these bikes. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments.
Bonjour! Likez et abonnez-vous à la chaîne. Nous ferons plus de vidéos comme ceci. Au revoir, tout à l'heure!